Ever pondered over the role of climbing plants in our ecosystem? Today we delve into the world of lianas. These intriguing plants, also known as vines or climbers, are characterized by their long, flexible stems that are firmly rooted in the ground, with branches that dangle and weave their way up towards the sun. Lianas are not just any ordinary plants. They are survivors, thriving in disturbed forest areas where many other plants struggle. The aftermath of events like logging, natural tree falls, and landslides may seem like a disaster zone to us, but for lianas, it's an opportunity. These areas provide a blank canvas for lianas to quickly grow towards the forest canopy, using trees as their supportive ladders. Their resilience to climatic changes, efficient water and nutrient usage, coupled with their knack for reaching sunlight, make them formidable competitors in the plant world. Lianas are indeed resilient survivors, but how do they compete with trees for resources? Let's find out. Lianas and trees, two distinct parts of the forest ecosystem, yet engaged in a fierce battle for survival. In the heart of the forest, lianas, also known as vines, climbers, or climbing plants, are waging a silent war against trees. This is not your typical war, but a competition for survival, for sunlight, and for resources. In this battle, lianas have a few weapons up their sleeves. You see, lianas are remarkably resilient to changes in moisture and temperature. This resilience gives them a competitive edge over trees, which are more susceptible to climatic stress. Unlike trees, lianas are not confined to one spot. They can move, climb, and spread, using trees as their personal ladders to reach the top of the forest canopy. This climbing ability means they can quickly colonize disturbed areas of the forest, areas where trees might struggle to establish, but it's not just about mobility. Lianas are also highly efficient in their use of water and nutrients. While trees need a lot of resources to grow tall and strong, lianas are more adaptable. They can survive and thrive with less, making the most of what they have. This efficient usage of resources allows them to outcompete trees, reaching for the sunlight and growing in places where trees cannot. Yet it's not all bad news for the trees. Lianas, despite their resilience and adaptability, have a lower capacity for carbon sequestration compared to trees. This means they are less effective at absorbing and storing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, a crucial process in mitigating climate change. However, lianas don't just compete with trees for sunlight and resources. They actively suppress tree growth, wrapping around trunks and branches, blocking sunlight and monopolizing resources. This suppression can stunt tree growth, reduce tree reproduction, and ultimately lead to a decrease in the overall tree population. So, the rise of lianas could pose a threat to our forests. But what does that mean for the forest ecosystem? The dominance of lianas has far-reaching implications for our forest ecosystems. Let's delve a little deeper into how the competitive success of lianas over trees can significantly affect the forest ecosystem. Picture this, a forest where lianas are thriving, spreading their long, flexible stems, climbing high and reaching out for the sunlight, leaving the trees shadowed and suppressed. From the understory to the canopy, these climbing plants impact trees in various ways. In their quest for sunlight and resources, lianas entangle themselves around trees, essentially using them as supportive structures to grow. This competition for sunlight and nutrients can lead to a decrease in tree regeneration. In other words, the more lianas there are, the fewer new trees can sprout and grow. Consequently, the survival rate of trees drops significantly. This change is not just about trees losing out to lianas. It's about a shift in the forest's very structure and ecosystem function. When the trees are suppressed, the forest structure changes. The once tall, majestic trees are now overshadowed by a dense network of lianas. This alteration in the forest structure also impacts the ecosystem function. With fewer trees, there's less carbon sequestration, which is a key function of forests in mitigating climate change, but the impact doesn't stop there. It extends to the subsequent recovery of the forest. In a forest dominated by lianas, the recovery process gets complicated. The suppressed trees struggle to regenerate and the overall growth of the forest slows down. This slowdown in growth and regeneration means that the forest takes longer to recover from disturbances. Whether it's a natural disturbance, like a landslide, or a man-made one like logging, the forest's resilience is tested. And unfortunately, in a liana-dominated forest, this resilience is often found lacking. Liana's proliferation can indeed change the face of our forests, but that's not all. As we'll see in the next scene, the impact of lianas extends beyond the forest ecosystem, affecting not just the trees, but also the wildlife and the overall biodiversity. So stay tuned as we uncover more about the far-reaching effects of these fascinating climbers. The impact of lianas extends beyond the visible changes in our forests. They're not just competing with trees for sunlight and resources, but their growth and proliferation are having a profound effect on the very life cycle of the forest itself. Consider nutrient cycling, an essential process that fuels growth and sustains life within an ecosystem. When lianas proliferate, they alter this nutrient cycling. Their extensive root systems and rapid growth allow them to extract nutrients from the soil at a faster rate than trees. As they grow, they also pull nutrients from the canopy down to the forest floor, changing the distribution of these essential elements within the forest ecosystem. This alteration in nutrient cycling can have far-reaching effects. For instance, it can impact the growth and survival of other plant species, potentially leading to changes in plant diversity and composition. Over time, these changes can ripple outward, affecting wildlife that relies on these plant species for food and habitat. But the impacts of lianas don't stop there. Their proliferation can also decrease the overall resilience of forests to environmental changes. The ability of a forest to recover from disturbances, whether they are natural, like a storm or a fire, or human-made, like logging or land use changes, largely depends on its resilience. By outcompeting trees, lianas can reduce the forest's capacity to bounce back, making it more susceptible to further disturbances. These impacts of lianas are not immediately visible, but they are significant. They represent a change in the very fabric of our forest, a shift in the balance of life that could have long-lasting consequences for our ecosystems. Understanding the role and impact of lianas in our ecosystems is crucial for forest conservation efforts. As we continue to explore and learn, we become better equipped to protect and preserve our precious natural resources.